evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Primetime Racing League's special event. This is the Primetime 75 here from the newly christened Primetime Super Speedway. No points on the line, no championship on the line, but an opportunity to get that first victory here at this brand new Super Speedway. I'm Seth Cole alongside Jessica Shelton, and Jess, you and I took the opportunity to kind of go out there, see what the caveats of this racetrack are as opposed to other super speedways of this configuration. We might be in for a very interesting race here tonight. A lot of competitiveness and a lot of three-wide racing.
Yeah, we went out there and we saw that high side. I mean, it was kind of amazing to see how that high side actually had a lot of grip up there to where if they play the cards right, we're going to have a lot of three-wide racing based on what you and I were testing because, that bottom you gain a little bit of an advantage in the corners, which, you and I were checking out. You stayed in that middle line based on preferred line on other series that we ran with SuperSpeedway. And that middle line was pretty good, but there's a little bit of an inside run on the into the corners, and you got that high side that just randomly comes back off the exit of the corners, and that middle line's pretty much balanced to the middle, balancing both of them out off and on. So we'll have to see how that plays in because we have like all these three-wide racing stuff. That's going to be really chaotic.
Going to be a lot of options available, and you bring up the chaotic point with the fact that this is a non-points event. Drivers might be a little more willing to go for the risky move, and maybe if it pans out, great. If it doesn't pan out, well, there's no championship that you're losing, but there is 66 laps in total, so you will have to pace yourself to at least get to the end of this race. We know that with 2X, pit road will more than likely come into play, and looks like we got 23 drivers that are going to take the green flag here tonight. You see the JBL number 79 of Nate Balser. He'll line up on the pole position. The Ted Musgrave throwback shares the front row with him. That's the 16 of Jeffrey Elliott. Robert Breedlove, he'll make up row number 2 with Mark Paglia. Mike Mangialardi will be back in row 3. Greg Lovell, looks like we're waiting for Greg to grid here. Hopefully he doesn't miss the start. He's slated to roll off on the outside of row 3. Row 4, Keith Bynum and Brian Lovell. And Greg Palmer, Billy Elliser will be the top 10. Randy Waugh and Denny Carroll, they'll be back in row 6. Row 7, Perry Bond and Donnie Garrett. Graham McDonald and Jason Tinchery, they'll be in row 8. Row 9, the last driver to take time was Eric Lovell, and he'll share that row with Sean Dotson. Ulysses Sandoval, Kelly Causey, back completing the top 20. And then the final 3 drivers in the field tonight, Javier Negron, John Godfrey, and Frank Divens. Of course, Primetime Racing League runs all weeknights and the weekends. I believe Saturday nights are their Super Speedway Series nights, so it will be interesting to see if any experienced drivers have garnered from Saturday nights apply here to this one. Of course, there'll be some bragging rights, you gotta think, when Saturday comes around of claiming the first checkered flag at this Super Speedway. And Jess, we've been a part of tracks when they've made their debuts for the very first time. Like what is it for a driver? Is it just something they can hang their hat on, look back at of saying, I was the first one? How do drivers kind of weigh in the balance the opportunity to win at a debuting track?
Well, you got drivers who sit there and they're thankful and they're very appreciative of winning a brand new track debut as well, like you're mentioning. And for me specifically, if I go to a track that's debuting, winning would be great. You can add that, but running it, it's like what you and I were talking about. We had the ability to go over to do another broadcast, and I got on track to test that Freedom track, remember? And I actually loved it, and I had never been on it. There might have been a couple of other drivers that had been on it, but I had never been on it before, and I liked how it was. It was not like full throttle all out. There was like, you got to pace yourself here and there a little bit, half off throttle here and there, and that's what you got to look at. You might be able to use it in the future, knowing what you got to do with this other league that might be running the same track, or maybe you want to use it for your own league or recommend it to an admin. So it gives you some experience.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a bottle of champagne. That's what they use to christen a ship when it's sent out into the bay, but we're going to do our best here tonight to see who might be popping the champagne at the end of the night here, as we are set to see what Primetime Super Speedway will bring to the table in the future. Green flag is out, 66 laps on the road ahead for these drivers.
got a really nice start side by side, several rows back. No one stepping out for three wide. And just really, really nice start coming off turn two.
Yeah, Breedlove timed that green perfectly, gave Nate Balser the shot he needed to clear that inside line. Be interesting to see that outside line there, the middle lane, maybe a third lane, how quickly they form up. You see Jeffrey Elliott with help from Mark Paglia, a couple of Mustangs pushing up there back alongside of the race leader. So, like we said, it's like the grip gradually increases the further you go up to that outside wall.
Yeah, but how quickly are they wanting to go up there and actually make that third line run because of how, how, I don't mean like, I don't know how these guys race around each other specifically. We know some of these drivers, but with this group here, we don't know if they're going to be really tight on that bottom, push up, whatnot, you know what I mean? So going on that third lane, if they're pushing up off of two, which I just saw the 24 back here kind of push up a little bit off of turn two, it's always kind of sketchy going on that third lane, that bottom pushing up a little stuff. You never know.
And usually that third lane opens up when you have more and more drivers migrate up to the middle line, the checkup. Drivers uncomfortable with that. They want to stay in the throttle as long as possible, so they go up where nobody is, maybe a little bit of breathing space, and try and make something happen there. But for the moment, everybody just in an orderly 2x2x2. First lap was led by Jeffrey Elliott. Looks like with the power around the top, he's going to lead the second lap, 28 of Mark Paglia right behind him. Then the 44 of Brian Lovell. Balser, Breedlove, still committed there to the yellow line. As question for you, are the cars shimmying a little bit on your end, or is that just for me? Okay.
Yeah, it's on my end, but I'm actually used to it with broadcasting, so I'm guessing that's what it is.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that I had to fix.
And that leader of that third lane is the one that I've been seeing keep popping his nose out, and that would be the 41 machine, Denny Carroll. I've been seeing him pop his head out there a couple of times, and now he's up there.
Testing the waters, see if anybody would go with him, and Donnie Garrett answered yes. Also right behind him, you got the 76. That is Jason Tinturi.
We've got someone who lost the pack back here, by the way.
Who's that?
At least I think it was.
Oh, that's Greg.
Yeah,
that's the 8 of Greg, and I think because he missed the grid. So he's hoping for a yellow. I think he's actually a lap down, too, so he'd have to rely on the lucky dog. As Mark Paglia goes to the race lead there.
But you notice how all these drivers are going back to the bottom, and that's what we've seen in the other series as well, and not trying to reference the other series quite often, but we've seen that when that third lane pops up on that high side, we've seen everyone go down on that bottom if they're not on that high side, which gives that bottom a huge advantage.
Top three on that inside line are now clear. Mike Mangialardi in the 029, and now Keith Bynum is on the bottom of the 3 wide. Breedlove in the middle, Denny Carroll up on the top. You see up there on that outside line, third car on that outside line, the number 76 Bama Buggy Chevrolet Camaro. That's Jason Tinturi, and for those that are diehard fans and follow the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, you recognize that name. He sits atop the pit box as crew chief for Chase Purdy over at Spire Motorsports behind the wheel here tonight. He's been running for the last few weeks here at Primetime Racing League. We talk about it all the time, how the sim world makes its way over into the real racing world. Of course.
Whoa! What is that one driver doing? Is he trying to get in line here, or is
he
is?
Yeah, Bynum is trying to get in front there of Greg Palmer.
Okay.
But we've seen the sim world reach over into the real racing world. I mean, Rodney Sullivan's a good friend of ours. Has painted Xfinity car for JD Motorsports in the past, so pretty cool to see it continue on here with a driver that normally each week we see at the racetrack on the national circuit, taking some laps here tonight at the brand new Primetime SuperSpeedway.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of crossovers. We had a special event not too long ago for the, I believe it was a Kelly Causey special event. And,
yep.
We were able to have, thankfully for the 7-Eleven, John Godfrey reaching out and getting Mr. Randy LaJoy to come over and be the Grand Marshal of that race. Remember?
That's right. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the special event before that Causey had, I think Chase Purdy was actually the Grand Marshal.
I am not really sure that.
I think that was the case.
Too far back. Too far back. I've got stuff colitis.
Huh. Is that like the Who's line? The good news is we're going to name a disease after you?
The bad news is, yeah, walk away.
Keith Bynum up
Um,
there, high, wide, and handsome, now leading that top line.
but you notice that they settled it back to 2 wide back here, and now they're trying to make it 3 wide up there again with Randy Waugh, I believe, in the middle
Yep,
of that one.
give some help to Mike Mangialardi and the Black Hawk
It's
down.
been really calm, even though they've been going 3 wide and it's been split off and on. It's been really calm for the first 7 to 8 laps, and I know I'm probably jinxing that like you did.
No, we don't talk about the commentator's curse I put on the field last week. That was not my magnum opus.
Look at that run that Robert Breedlove just got in the 931, straight up to the back of Randy Waugh. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
right in the
looks
middle.
like the suck up is definitely there. I've been keeping an eye on that 63 of Keith Bynum because he's been up in the third lane, and it seemed like, especially here on the back straightaway, that third line is where a lot of the grip is. And I would have thought they'd have gotten enough of a run where he could get alongside of Mark Paglia. Right there, I think he gained about 2 or 3 car lengths on the inside line, but then they lose it a bit through the turns.
And I'm still noticing, I mean, I don't know how much you notice it, but it gets my attention because I'm guilty of doing it off of turn 2 quite a bit. But I'm noticing there's some of them off of 3 and 4 and in 1 and 2 that are kind of pushing up a little bit off the entry and exit in the middle corners. And I'm kind of concerned about that. If they get into a long run, if they start getting close to where they want to slightly pinch and then they push up, and it's like, you gotta give me a little bit more room than that, you know? I mean, you see how they've got like a half a lane off the wall up there at the high side. I'm just really concerned that they might end up banging off each other a little bit.
I think that's the bright yellow 711 of John Godfrey up there. No, it's Kelly Causey, correction.
Wow, really? 711, red and white. That is a John Godfrey. I cannot believe, after all the seasons of commentating and broadcasting over there, you can't even remember what John Godfrey runs.
I was going off my telemetry and gauging who I thought the top car on the outside line was.
No, you should be ashamed of yourself, Hansel. They're lapping, looks like Greg Lavelle again.
In the words of the shrimp on Finding Nemo, I'm ashamed.
Looks like the sixth, that's Jeffrey Elliott looking like he was on the peak out and didn't Carroll there.
Paglia has led the last 6 laps so far. Jeffrey Elliott led the first 2. Actually, correction, last 7 laps led by Mark Paglia. But again, you know, we can talk about statistics in this race. This is a non-points event. This is an exhibition race. It's an opportunity for the racetrack to make its debut, an opportunity for the drivers to show what they can do. Talked with Keith Bynum here before we came on the air, and he said this is just an opportunity for everybody to tune in, see what type of racing there is on the SuperSpeedway side, and if they're interested, maybe join us during the course of the week. A lot of different series that run here. Aero 88s run on Monday nights, Back to the Future series on Tuesday nights. SuperSpeedway series is actually on Friday nights. I got that weeknight incorrect. And then Saturday night, it's the SuperSpeedway Shootout Series. And then on Sunday, the Speedway Spartan Series. Quadruple S's on Sunday nights.
Third line coming back in the turn 3 and turn 4, led by Robert Breedlove with Kelly Causey following, trying to give him a little bump here. Back to the Future series. So what you're telling me is everyone's in a DeLorean.
I wish.
And the password has got to be Great Scott 1.21 gigawatts.
You know, I still have Cosman's number. We need a DeLorean mod.
And by the way, you didn't see it, I don't think, but there was a little bit of a bumper grab that came off of Robert Breedlove and Kelly Causey there. Kelly was trying to bump him and got a little bit high up there, and it just bumped off. And getting back to that point of the bumper grab, Seth, you and I, we were in your series on Sunday, and that's also something we got to watch out for, is that dreaded bumper grab, because, you know, I think what was I bumper grabbed off of Ulysses on Sunday? What was it? Was it Ulysses or something?
I think it was. Yep.
But I bumper grabbed off of one of them, and you and I were talking about how the hitbox is just kind of a little bit sketchy on these ones.
Yeah, I had a couple of drivers bumper grab off of me on Sunday as well. Yeah, like I've said, I feel like in terms of super speedway racing, this particular mod, the Men Cup 2019 mod, is the most comfortable one just based off of the kind of the squarish box that you can draft with.
Okay,
But to
okay,
your
no.
point,
I will argue that it's Gen 6 BR 15 for me, or Gen 6 BR. I love it.
really?
So, yes, I love that mod.
Oh, okay. I thought that hitbox was even more temperamental than these cars, to be honest. But definitely the bumper grab's something that comes into play, it seems, more often with these particular cars and this particular mod. A couple of drivers that started out back have slowly made their way up here to the front. Perry Bond started outside of the top 10 and 13th. He's right now in P4. And Eric Lovell, who was the last driver to take time, started 17th, and he's up here in the 5th position. So a couple of drivers done a good job of cutting their way through traffic and gaining track position that they didn't have at the initial drop of the green.
Yeah, I've been back here a little bit looking, Seth. I'm looking at how, based on what we've known in our past experience of the other series and stuff, you know how that last car in line always seems to lose the draft, right?
Right.
I'm not really seeing that. I saw that with Godfrey a little bit early when he was way back there, and Javier, but it seems like it's not enough to where it's a really big thorn in your side.
Yeah,
So
76
they get the
back
draft
there.
and they suck up.
I think he was about 3-4 car lengths back, and see he's drafted right back up to the bumper of Kelly Causey. Ooh, stack up back there.
By the way, you are aware we are on lap 15, so we got pit stops coming up in
Oh
the 2
boy.
laps, and they're all coming down to that bottom line, which basically kind of signifies that they're trying to get themselves sorted and situated. But if it were me, being in a draft line like this, you want to be with the pack, but at the same time, with them going to start checking up on that bottom, you might want to run that middle line and try to gain a little bit more spots if you're going to pit probably a lap or two later than what these guys will pit.
Now, I'm going to adhere to you, because when I tried to make it onto pit road, it wasn't turning. It was going straight. Where would you rate the level of difficulty getting onto pit lane here for these drivers, for this particular track?
For me or for you?
No, for you, because for me it would definitely be a 10 out of 10 difficulty, because I couldn't get into turn
actually,
left.
this pit road and coming off before the transition from the track to the apron, going into the pit lane and pit road itself, the way it feels great. I mean, there's no real difficulty in my mind on how to get down to 55. I don't know if there's a hot pitting, like very picky speed wise or not on this version, but I didn't have a single problem getting down to 55 and coming in. Everything felt good, but the only thing I didn't like was when I came out, my mindset was take the apron all the way around off of 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to see how it was. Luckily, these guys can merge off in turn 1, which is what we've been seeing for the more recent Dega SuperSpeedway Daytona versions that have come out, and the reformatted type versions like this. Off of 2 though, on that apron, I lost it completely, so it's a little bit loose down there.
So you're saying that there's grip everywhere except below the yellow line?
Yeah, but coming into pit road, I was fine. I didn't have a problem, but leaving pit road, I mean, they should be fine unless they wheel it really, really hard, I guess, the exit, because, some of these guys actually do tend to kind of spin out off of pit road. We've seen that happen quite a bit in the past. Sure. Not as much as we used to, thankfully. And anyway, you look at this field, most of these drivers, whether they are in the leagues that we've called all together or other leagues, we know that these drivers know each other pretty well to race. So we already know that these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, we got a couple of drivers that are kind of one-offs here tonight that don't race
They're
regularly.
all one-offs. This isn't a league race.
Well, yeah, but I was going to say they don't race regularly here in Primetime, but took the opportunity to test this racetrack here this evening. As I think we got pit stops coming up here. Yep, Paglia's in. I figured he'd be one of the first because he's been out in front for most of this. Ooh, about 7 cars here. Paglia, Balser, Garrett, Bond, Carroll, Mangialardi, and Randy Waugh. They all made it on safely. Hopefully they got it woed down to the 55-mile-per-hour pit road speed. And now we await the second group after Brian Lovell inherits the race lead. Might have a bigger pack of cars coming down this time because this is right in the median around the 20 laps that drivers can usually make it on what's in the tank. 44, peeling off very early off of turn 4. Oh, we got a spin in the back. That's the 76 of Tintry. He's going to
There
get
goes
Ulysses
96
Sandoval.
Ulysses.
That should be a
And that
yellow,
should be
I think.
caution.
Yep.
That's going to be a caution. They're on the track, so I think it's, what is that, Greg Lavelle backwards on the track?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, unfortunate for Greg to be involved in that, especially with him being put in that lucky dog position. Now, I'm wondering if, based on how this series works, if you're involved in the wreck like that, do you still get
Still
the lucky
get the
dog or
free
not?
pass, especially with it being a special event too. You know, does that? Is there a little bit more levity in that? Now we're gonna have to go back and look at the replay, but I'm almost certain that the 76 of Jason Tinchery was coming to pit road, but he appeared to be quite a ways up on the racetrack, not really way down towards the apron as if he was coming to pit road, and Greg Level might not have gotten the message, and we're gonna have to allow the scoring to figure out all of who's where, because remember, that was right in the middle of green flag pit stops here. I don't think anybody was a lap down, but it will be interesting to see who cycles around to what position.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but Sean Dotson manually disconnected earlier.
Okay, because I actually was looking for him, didn't see him on the grid, so he
Yeah,
never
I'm
geared up.
looking at the check thing here, and it says that Frank received throughput fell to unacceptable, so he fell out. I'm not sure whether he's back or not with him, but Sean Dotson, he fell out and connected and just left, I guess. But
Yep.
what do you
No
see with
Frank,
this?
no Sean on the
Yeah,
current
but
grid.
what are you seeing with the replay?
So it looks like the 76 was going to come to pit road. When he got on the brakes, it got him loose, redirected him back up the track. Greg Lovell obviously had missed the start, so he could go another lap or two on fuel. He was staying out, and the 76, unfortunately, when he fishtailed, came up into the lane that Greg was in, into the back of Ulysses Sandoval, and then with the cars migrating back up the track there, caution waves, and saved a couple of drivers there, because they'll be able to cycle back around and catch up to the lead group.
Yep, especially with the guys who pitted, they're sitting there pitting. It's like, well, I got this big gap. I got to catch up now. There's caution. Well, there you go. You're fine now. Robert Breedlove decided to stay out along with Greg Lavelle, but I think, didn't you say Robert was actually involved in that too?
No.
Was he not?
Nope. Only 3 drivers really involved in this wreck.
Greg.
Tinchery, Sandoval, and Lovell. Now, the
Okay.
80 of Eric Lovell, he was in the middle of it, had a little contact with a driver that sent him up into the vicinity, but he actually was not involved in the wreck itself. And actually, that kind of helped him, too, because he didn't come to pit road, didn't hit that commitment line, so provided he had the fuel to make it back around, he might end up gaining some track position out of that.
So we're sitting here at 21. So pin at 21. You go about 21 laps, give or take. 19 to 20 is gonna be about 40. And if they come in and top off here, a couple more will top off. So we're looking at probably what, 42?
Something like that, yeah. Depending on if some drivers come down at the 1 degree to top off the fuel tank, which I think we're probably going to see several drivers towards the back do that. You mentioned Breedlove stayed out to lead a lap, so that turns the lead over to Mike Mangialardi, though it won't be until we come around to the start-finish line that the 029 will officially have a 1 in the lap-led column. And it looks like Greg, right now scoring has him on the tail end lead lap as he's behind the pace car in front of the leader. Looks like he's coming down pit road this time, so we won't know until more than likely when we go back green whether he's going to get the free pass, be back on the lead lap or not, or maybe they'll just have him go around and get his laps back here under the pacing period.
Well, I do want to point out while we're under caution, just a heads up to anyone who may be interested or whatnot, talk to Nate Balzer, the driver of the number 79 machine, and be aware that he is hosting a cancer awareness event in the end of September, September 28th, I believe it is. It's going to be, I believe, on a Saturday, Seth. And you're going to be helping, maybe helping or maybe racing, depending on how it goes with the field and whatnot. But yeah, there's that event coming up. I believe they might be having it here or in a different area. I'm not really sure
It is here,
specifically.
actually. Yep.
But yeah, Nate Balzer is hosting a cancer awareness race that's coming up.
That'll be over on our good friends at Tar Nation TV. Blaine Donlin gonna have the call on that one, as you mentioned, September
28th, I
8th.
believe.
Thank you. For some reason in my head,
And
I was
like I
thinking
said,
23rd, and I wanted to make sure that I got the confirmation
you
correct.
said that you may be racing that, but you also might be broadcasting. It just depends on what happens.
Yep, depends on if they need me in the booth. If they don't need me in the booth, I'll be on the track, one way or another.
I plan on racing that event, so I will be there hopefully.
And also, as I mentioned too, this is an opportunity for the Primetime Racing League drivers to kind of showcase what kind of racing they have here on a weekly basis. And if you're interested in joining PRL, you can find them at Primetime Racing League on Facebook. And they will definitely get you set up. A lot of different leagues run during the course of the week, Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays here at Primetime Racing League.
We just asked that you don't talk about Bruno, because we don't talk about Bruno.
You just talked about him.
Okay, I am going to really hurt you one day.
By the way,
I am really going to hurt you.
By the way, want to give a special shout out. Appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage here tonight. But a special shout out to Mrs. Conchita Bynum tuning in here tonight. Keith Bynum's mother. Appreciate you tuning in here this evening. So far, Keith having a pretty clean race. Looks like he's going to roll off 6th on this restart in that number 63. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is that a Pontiac?
Whose machine?
The 63. It looks like a Pontiac.
Let me get. Oh my gosh, I just went right by him.
Because if that's a Pontiac, Matt McIntyre is going to go into fanboy.
Hold on. 63 is a Trans Am 63, and the 41, I can't tell what the 41 is. But the 63 is a Trans Am
Pontiac. It is a Pontiac Trans Am. Okay. Well, I know if Matt McIntyre is watching, who he's rooting for then.
Well, Matt McIntyre's probably going to sign up now.
Yes. Like, oh, there's another Pontiac. I need to be a teammate. Working only our first caution of the night, right in the middle of green flag pit stops, so it shouldn't change a whole lot in terms of what we were looking at if we had been running up to this point under green flag conditions. We know that they are going to have to make at least one more pit stop before the conclusion, but you see the lights are out, so we are going to go back green on lap 24. We'll have a total of 43 laps to go. Greg Lovell did indeed go around with the free pass, so he gets his lap back. We'll put our 21 running cars all on the lead lap. Let's see how quickly Greg can make his way up through the field after he got put a lap down. He just kind of rode at the back. Hopefully didn't get much damage getting into the back of Jason Tintry there for our first caution. And new life breathed into the 8 car here with more than half the race still left to go.
Yep, I mean, they've been pretty calm compared to what we've seen in the past for special events. So they've been putting on a good show, nice, even and clean. As we get ready to go back, pace car peels off as they enter the trials.
It's going to turn the field over to the Black Hawk Down 029, correction, 29 of Mike Mangialardi. I'm so used to him being the 029. And he'll have the Chevrolet number 77 of Donnie Garrett to his outside. Mark Pagley, who's led the most laps so far tonight, lines up in 3rd with Randy Waugh on the top side in 4th place. Green flag back in the air. A lot of pushing and shoving there in their respective lanes. I think the 2nd, 3rd, 4th cars in line all trying to make sure that their particular lane had the advantage through 1 and 2.
Couldn't tell they were ready to go, could you?
No, I don't think so.
I was wondering about that sponsorship with Hagley because I'm on rear chase looking around and I saw Donnie Garrett's Astroglide and all of a sudden I'm seeing there's in Krabby Dicks. Apparently that is a seafood eatery
Yep.
place. I mean, what's caught my eye is that frickin' 41. I love the colors on that. So, it's so, what is it, Rudd, Kenny Irwin, Ernie Irvin, and, Davey Allison kind of nostalgia with the colors on that.
Little bit of a breakup there with the green, right? Into that black and red as well. We're used to seeing the Snap-on sponsorship on Denny Carroll's cars, but that little bit of green on the door, on the roof rails, breaks it up really nicely.
Yeah, it stands out. At least you know it's him.
You see right there, the 09 Frank Divins getting onto the racetrack. Looks like whatever the connection gremlins he had at the initial start of this race, he's been able to connect into the server, albeit 23 laps down. We'll see if maybe he ends up getting some of those laps back here, has a shot of getting back into the hunt for this victory here tonight. As look at that third line.
Black Hawk down, though, is leading.
Mark Paglia, Denny Carroll, Eric Lovell all working together on the bottom. Javier Negron in the Sundrop Toyota, gonna move up to the second lane with Ulysses Sandoval, but Keith Bynum was up in that third lane. They were making something happen through the front straightaway there. Now they seem to have lost ground. That was something else that you and I were talking about when we were testing out, is it seems like if you're in a straight line, like here on the back straightaway, that third lane gets a really good run. But over on the front straightaway, before you get to the tri-oval and after you get to the tri-oval, you get that run, but it stalls out when you get to the center of the tri-oval. And I don't know if that's because you start turning left and maybe it scrubs off a little bit of speed that way. I don't know what it is, but it happened to the 63 in that line that last time by.
Well, on the bottom, I can tell you it scrubs off a lot of speed compared to anything else, but I mean, I used to get called out with I don't know who it was. It might have been Schilling or Jeremy or someone over in RTD. They used to call me out because, or no, it was Chuck. Chuck was trying to explain to me a few times that the lower I run, especially with my steering ratio, depending on where their ratio is, and there goes Denny Carroll with a high top block up there. Going to slow down this high side just a little bit, with a little bit of momentum there. But
Ooh.
Whoa, a little bit of a. Hello, I'm there.
Little indecision by Paglia. Oh, we're going to have a spinner. 76 around. Nate Balser around. Caution's going to fly. Second time tonight.
Graham's going to keep it going. Someone just nailed the inside.
That was Balser. That was a big hit.
Graham's going to come back on the track. All right, that's good.
Randy Waugh in the 21 collected up. It's Greg Palmer in the 22.
Randy Wall's still against the wall there. He's getting going now.
Frank Divins entered into the mix here.
But yeah, they used to tell me that.
Oh, we got a spinner on the back straightaway. Sorry to cut you off. Eric Lovell just got spun into Donnie Garrett. They're still wrecking
a little bit, aren't they?
Harry
What happened with that? What happened with that? Just a bad.
Oh, well, we got a flip. What in the world? Donnie Garrett just got clobbered by Billy Elliser and went into a barrel roll on the back straightaway.
Core slide and Astroglide stuff. That's all that you need to know.
Man. I don't know if these drivers, were they waiting for the... No, the pace car's up here, so they weren't waiting for the pace car. I don't know what went on right there. We'll try and see if we can dissect that after we see what initially brought out the caution.
The 60's got a little bit of damage to Perry Pond now off of that, I believe. So there's a little damage on the Red Bull machine.
Jason Tintry in the 76, I believe he's going to get a bump in the corner here. That sends him around and several other drivers involved. It is moderate damage, but there were quite a number of drivers took some hard hits in the initial wreck. We're going to go back to the back straightaway here, because I wonder if this was all in reaction to what happened with Paglia and Eric Lovell in second and third. Watch left side of your screen. The 28 moves up the track, then tries to tuck back down in front of the 80. Yeah, it looks like it stacked them up, but Eric lost momentum. Tintry was trying to check up to not run into him, and then everybody else behind just kind of didn't get the memo 76 gets spun. Godfrey, Randy Waugh, Greg Palmer, Nate Balser, nowhere for any of these guys to be able to go. And that hit down the inside wall for Nate Balser is Armco barrier. That is not a safer barrier, so that
Yeah,
is a
I'm wondering how much
lot of
damage
damage
he
he's
got
going to
off of
get.
that. He nailed the living snot out of that inside wall, so I don't know how badly the damage is on the machine.
And that was front end of the car too, where the engine's housed. So, if nothing else, definitely going to be lacking some straightaway speed.
Nobody's retired yet. Frank is obviously 11 laps down, but that's all I'm seeing right now in the standings.
So it looks like Frank was getting his laps added back. Unfortunately, has to wait until we go back green to get more added back, because on the Air 2003 sim, you cannot add laps when under caution.
Yeah, because NR is NR, right?
That's right. Now let's take a look at what happened on the back straightaway, because a lot of drivers that up to that point had clean race cars took some pretty big shots, and I think this starts around the 60 of Perry Bond. I know the 77 is in it. The 41 is in it. So let's see. So it looks like Donnie Garrett gets into the back of Eric Lovell, sends him into Denny Carroll. Perry Bond, Brian Lovell go around, and then watch right here as Donnie tries to get it turned back around. Billy Elliser comes in, doesn't realize the 77 is going to come up into his lane and just clobbers Donnie Garrett Chevrolet. Fortunately, Donnie lands back on his wheels, but that's going to be a lot of damage for both of those drivers.
And you and I both know how aggravating that can be. Is when you're already involved in an incident, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, can I go now? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to try to go, and then all of a sudden the driver hits you, and then at the same time the other driver's going to be aggravated too. That situation, like, why couldn't you just wait a few more seconds?
Yeah, see
But
how
yeah,
far
it's
back
always
the 26 and the 24, where they were having to woe up for the initial wreck over in 3 and 4.
But you know what I'm getting at. You know how that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
On both ends. You know how, why on both sides.
There's at least 3-4 drivers now look like they're going to have some pretty significant damage for this upcoming restart. But, you brought up the fact nobody out of the race, and that's something that we typically see in special events as well. Drivers, they'll have damaged race cars, know that they may not necessarily be competitive, but
Well, technically, remember Sean Dotson, I'm still looking for him, and I don't see him on the list at all.
Yep.
So I guess he didn't make the start or something.
If I'm not mistaken, and I might be wrong, but if Sean Dotson had made the field, I think that would have been another Pontiac, because most of the races I've seen
Will
Sean
you
Dotson in, he's
stop
been in a
giving
Pontiac.
Matt ideas? Matt's going to sit there and say, hey, will you run with us? Hey, will you run with us? Do you really want Matt to actually have friends? Are you trying to alienate him now?
He tells me Pontiacs is a dying breed, and so I'm pointing out to him that there are other people out there that actually do run Pontiacs.
I've been running a Pontiac all season over an RTG. Good job. Okay, whatever. I mean, you don't say anything about Matt wanting to work with me, because Matt doesn't work with me at all anyway. So.
Valid point.
Anyway, looks like Jeffrey Elliott's up here at the front right now and stuff. But getting back to your point earlier before the whoa flying type stuff happened here. On that bottom, like I said, steering ratio can mean a little bit of aggravation as well, depending on how low or how high you have it set, depending on your assist as well. Going off of turn 1 into 2. You scrub up a lot of speed on that inside line. Like you scrub up about mile to 2 mile an hour, depending on how hard you turn that wheel going in. And that actually really hurts that inside line more than anything else, is depending on where you've got it set, honestly.
Translates into qualifying as well, right? The smoother you can hold the wheel, the better you have a chance of not having the rear tires slide out from underneath you and scrub off speed.
Well, I've when I've qualified around, whenever we actually have qualified and stuff, and how I've always gotten really bad lap times and whatnot, and how I'm always in the mid or the back of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually when my steering ratio is set down where it would be at for race truck. And I'm noticing that the higher I have it up, if I have it up like at 28 or 30 or whatever, I have more more room, more flexibility, more leniency, I guess, on how it turns, and I used to get a better lap time. So that's just me, though. I mean, I don't know how anyone else feels because theirs just might be different.
Well, lights are out atop the pace car. Jeffrey Elliott's going to get us back underway. Only our second caution of the night. Second, going to be Robert Breedlove, Denny Carroll third, Keith Bynum in fourth, and Brian Lovell in fifth. Now, I don't know how he managed to do this, but the telemetry that we've got, the scoring pylon that I've got and everything shows who turns the fastest lap in the race. I don't think anyone is ever going to break this record at the newly christened Primetime Superspeedway. Greg
Okay.
Lovell has turned a 9.164 second lap time that equals out to 1,043.947 miles per hour. How he
Good
managed
job.
that, I don't know.
He's been talking to Stephen Pollard the third a little bit.
I guess so, or he found the Wilhoit EXE or something, because I have never seen that before. It's obviously some kind of a glitch, and I don't know how it happened, but it is so
Yeah,
cool to look at.
yeah, there'd be no there's no way that that was anything wrong. It's just a glitch or a lag in
Can
the
you
game
imagine
itself.
Bob Dixon Factoids announcing that lap at the top of the board? Holy cow.
Imagine if Bob was in this race.
Oh, man. I can't do it justice. We would have to have him do the factoids and everything, but I would love to hear him announce a 1,000 mile per hour lap time.
Jeffrey Elliott getting ready to lease back with the number 16 Ted Musgrave throwback here.
Love that paint scheme.
I do too, but Musgrave had several different ABC slash Family Channel schemes. He had this one here that you see being run by Jeffrey Elliott here tonight. Then he had one that's got a whole dark blue on top of the roof and like a reddish in the back with like a gold stripe on the side, breaking them up in between. And then you remember later on when Kevin LePage ran the
I was
Prime Star?
gonna say,
The
maybe I'm
white,
dreaming, but didn't LePage drive a family car too?
yeah, but what I was getting at was during the time where Musgrave's last stint in the 16, he had like like I was saying, like the Prime Star where it was yellow and blue.
Right.
And then he got out of the car, and then it was all Kevin LePage from there. And yeah, we don't talk about LePage.
At least not at SuperSpeedways.
Yeah, especially. No one can see that nice red and black car down there with the green spoilers. I couldn't resist.
Doesn't stand out at all. Now, interesting point
right?
of note. We normally see at SuperSpeedways the driver that starts on the inside of the front row for starts and restarts. They wait until turn 2 and then go up to that middle line. Jeffrey Elliott did just that. He picked up Robert Breedlove. It took them 2 laps to generate that run on the middle line, but you see it finally pays off. So might be something these drivers will squirrel away, that maybe they won't want to jump up to that middle line as the race leader as early as the first lap of a restart. They might want to wait a lap or two until everybody's up to full song.
I'm also looking back here, looking at the 76, the 26 of Elliser, Nate Balzer, the people who were pretty much involved in that incident. I don't know how much damage Elliser has. He's kind of not right there on the back bumper. He's got like a little space between him and Randy Waugh. But the 76 machine looks like it's pretty up to speed, drafting up to the back of the 79, who's on the back of Graham. So it seems like they're okay at least, but I don't know how badly damaged the 26 is.
Oh,
Whoa!
what a save! Holy cow! Oh, but they're wrecking behind. Greg Palmer, the 22, just went around. That's going to throw the yellow.
Yep, they are throwing the yellow.
I don't know how Keith kept that thing straight. Normally a driver bounces off a driver low and they overcorrect into the inside wall.
Yeah, you might want to go back and get a replay shot of how that is, because they saved that up there. That would have easily been a 10, 15 car wreck right there.
For sure, because it was right in the middle of the corner, one of the hardest type of wrecks to miss. I'm not 100% certain, but I think maybe this is actually no damage. Because
are you sure?
Because you brought up the point that Elliser was still up there. I noticed Nate Balser was still up there, and I don't see any visible damage on the car. So I think this might be a no damage race.
Every so often, that moderate damage is forgiving. You know that.
Yeah, but I think
Elliser just disappeared.
I think maybe being a special event race, maybe they decided to do no damage.
Elliser disappeared. I don't know what happened.
We're going to show what brought out the initial caution first, with Greg Palmer, and then we'll take a look at the save by one Keith Bynum.
I'm waiting to see what happened with Alistair, because he randomly disappeared while I was riding on board with him. I don't know what happened to him.
All in reaction to what happened further up with Bynum having the save. It stacked up the entire top line, and Greg Palmer was the one that went around.
26 fell out.
So we'll see if Alistair's able to get back in. Here's a look at the Keith Bynum save again. We showed it to you in real time, but take a look at this because this car is pretty much wrecked. Bounces off of Javier Negron, and then probably when he came back up should have bumper grabbed off of Ulysses Sandoval, but somehow, some way got it pointed back the right direction in the corner with all that banking and ended up crossing the line in the 8th position, coming back to receive the yellow.
Nobody's out right now out of the race except for, like I said, the falling out of Billy Alistair. But that's it. They're still there.
Yep, I just did a double check, and it is indeed no damage, which makes sense. I mean, it's a special event. You're breaking in the track and everything. The last thing you want is, unfortunate turn of events, taking drivers out early. Let them run all
Wow, I
the
thought
laps.
there was damage on this. I thought they were running.
I thought it was too. I was making a list of drivers that were probably going to be done for and just logging laps, but no damage, so everybody's still got a shot at it here. I think they've been able to get Frank Divens back on the lead lap after that run, so now the 22 drivers in this race all going to be on the lead lap, and we'll be a little less than 30 laps to go when we get ready to go back green.
Seth, I do apologize. I was being talked to on the other end. What? Did you just ask something?
No, just mentioned the fact that we're going to be at less than 30 to go when we go back green.
Okay, well, let's see. Did they just pit or are they pitting now? Alright, so they just pitted, okay. Let's see. Yeah, they got one more pit stop to make. The only question is, do you want to run it out or do you want to come in right when your window opens?
Yeah, what are we looking at? So like 56, 57, so it's a balance between a can and a half, right?
Seth, you gotta make a full 2-canner. Right? For a full 20 lap, right? For a full 20 laps. So it's gonna be another 20. So they pit, they get 20 laps in there, they can make it to 56. So like you're saying, roughly estimate, because we're still going around another time here. That's clutching, that's saving. Let's see. Well, we know 10 laps can get you a can.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's gonna be about a can. I would imagine a can.
Maybe have to take a can and a half if you lead the entire run. I don't know. Could you maybe have enough that you could save out in clean air to be able to only take on that can for 10 laps? Because we saw Mark Hagley come to pit road the earliest of everybody.
I'm watching the laps tick though. So now we're on 37. So we're gonna be going back to green on what, 38?
No, actually,
38
still on.
39. Yeah, I'm saying 38 going on 39, so we're going back to green probably.
Yes.
We're gonna go around one more time probably. The lights will go off and back around 38, 39. So honestly, I would just say a can. I wouldn't even think about a can and a half. I would just say a can straight up. That's just my opinion.
If these drivers end up having a caution come out when we get past like lap 44, 45, then it's all academic. They'll come down pit road and probably be good to make it the rest of the way.
Yeah, the only difference in that will be the caution. I'm just talking theoretically, they go green all the way. So
Jeffrey Elliott out in front. He's going to challenge Mark Pagley for most laps led here tonight in this special event, the Primetime SuperSpeedway 75 at the newly christened Primetime SuperSpeedway. See the lights are still on, so a little bit of an extended yellow here. So with that, we're going to step aside for an FRN race break. You won't miss a bit of the action that takes place here, and we will be back for the restart at Primetime SuperSpeedway here.
Trying to replace me with Michael Norman, right?
Yes, here on FRN. Don't go anywhere. Coverage continues right after this. Pace car made the left-hand turn to pit road. Jeffrey Elliott ready to get us back underway here tonight at Primetime SuperSpeedway. Brian Lovell to his outside. Their pushers will be Denny Carroll on the bottom, Eric Lovell on the top. Lap 38 complete, lap 39 of 66 on the board.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, they were looking to replace me. They tried to call Michael, but Michael's still asleep.
He didn't promise pizza, so we kicked him out.
No, he's still asleep, I'm sure. So, in this last little bit of a run here, we got one more pit stop coming up to make, obviously. What are you thinking?
Honestly, I think you run it to the end to then come down pit road. I know that a lot of times I'll kind of spin the conspiracy theory of maybe come down pit road as soon as the fuel window opens to make it on 2 cans, but it's a special event. You're going to go for the gamble. Why not go the furthest you possibly can, come down pit road, take on that can?
And here we go. We see this middle line trying to get their act together, and that bottom, you and I were discussing this all break. Looks like drivers are trying to test out this middle line, but it's just not going like we thought it would.
Yeah, like Justin and I were testing one car versus one car, and whoever was up on the middle line was able to gain ground on a straightaway against the car on the bottom, and then if you go all the way up to the third line, you could gain ground. And we were expecting to see, especially with it being a pack of cars in a draft, we were expecting to see a middle and a third line a lot more powerful than the inside line. We see Robert Breedlove trying to do that right now in the 931, but he only right there on that straightaway got up alongside Ulysses Sandoval. With what we saw, more than likely with a tight enough draft, he should have been up alongside of Jeffrey Elliott going into turn 3. So, maybe a pack of cars makes it entirely different in terms of how quickly the run is as opposed to just one car doing it by itself.
Kelly Kosik stepping out, trying to test that waters, but honestly, if it were me, I would, based on what we were testing, I would have thought that, okay, if I wanted to try to get to the front real quickly toward the end of the race, let's go on the bottom, making it 3 wide, right? To give him the advantage. But within the middle of the race, beginning of the race, whatnot, I just thought the high side would be where you wanted to go. And we see that third lane forming already, and someone up there trying to lead that third lane was a little bit iffy if they wanted to go up there, but they did go up there.
Yeah, that was Brian Lovell. That might have also been a reason why we're not been seeing the middle line, the outside line going, because Brian Lovell spent an entire 2 corners kind of shading up to that third line and maybe stalling out the momentum of, is he going to come up here or is he not going to come up here? Eventually, he and Greg Lovell both went up to that third lane, but just kind of that indecision might be enough to stall out the momentum of a line also.
Yeah, and I'm noticing there's one driver I'm paying attention to here. And look at, you see that the line's just completely stalled. They went back to the middle. So the 60 of Perry Bond's going to have to go in line. John Goffrey's going to have to get in line, whatnot back here as well. But what I'm noticing is you see the 77 of Donnie Garrett. He saw his third lane. He was in the middle. What did he do? He immediately shot to the bottom. And that's someone who knows what that third lane would do with Donnie Garrett. And we've seen him do that quite a bit. He'll go to that bottom and make it work immediately for himself to gain positions. That's exactly what he did right there.
He was, what, I believe, 4th car in line on that top side, immediately went to the bottom, and now he's knocking on the door of the top 5 up to 6th place. Greg Lovell, who was trying to lead that third lane, he's now mired back maybe the last car inside of the top 10, right behind the 24 of Graham McDonald. As quickly as that lane generated a run on that top side, it completely evaporated.
Yeah, and Keith Bynum just almost ran over the 76 machine up here. I don't know whether the 76 is at full song or not. We were talking about the damage factor actually not having the damage factor at all. But it seems like there's a big gap between specific drivers, unless they're doing that for a purpose reason or we're not there under 10 to go yet. Maybe that's what it is. They're just trying to be very cautious. At this point in time, what would you want to do? Would you want to try to start forging yourself in a higher position, or would you still want to play a cautious game, Sam?
Honestly, with it being a special event, I'm trying to see what I can do to get to the front. I mean, this is an opportunity here tonight to do some experimentation. This track is going to appear several times, you'd have to think, in several different of the PRL series during the course of the upcoming weeks. So, go to school here, do some experimentation, try and see what kind of runs you can generate, how you can pick up positions, and then put it to use when you're in a race, in a series where points are actually on the line, a championship hangs in the balance. It's a perfect opportunity. I think that's why we're seeing A lot of drivers kind of migrate to the second and the third lane, just more so out of curiosity of what they can really do. You brought up the fact here during our break that you were surprised we didn't see quite as much aggressive racing in the early going. They were pretty orderly, 2 by 2 all the way through the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, granted, you want to get to the end of the race, but with it being no damage, that factor, would have thought that as soon as the green flag dropped, a lot of drivers would have tried to be aggressive in that third line and see what it was capable of.
I mean, we've seen that before in quite a few other league races, even the ones that we participate in and we host, that we would see it be really, really aggressive with no damage. I'm watching back here, Seth. There's John Godfrey, then there's the 8 of Greg Lavelle, then there's a gap that's right there in front of Mark Paglia, then going back to the 76 machine. I mean, I'm just surprised that they're not making that third lane work any. Like, they're just going side by side now.
Yeah, I'll just kind of in ride mode.
I don't know if
behind
you
whoever's
caught that
leading
or
the
not.
line. I do have a question for you that I was kind of wondering based off of a question I had asked you earlier. I asked you about the difference of a can to a can and a half type thing. Is there any possibility for some of these guys towards the back of the pack if we run this entire fuel run green to save enough laps where they can come down pit road and only take on a half a can, or is it going to have to be a full can across the
No,
board?
it's gonna have to be a minimum of a. It's going to be a can.
Okay.
Unless you hit it that first time by and did not clutch, and you're not really focused on knowing how to clutch or saving fuel or whatnot, you're going to take a can.
Whoa! Jeffrey Elliott coming to pit
Yeah,
lane.
he's coming in.
This is right at the fuel window, so...
Yeah, I think he's going to take 20 and go. I mean, a full tank and go, probably.
But he's
Yeah,
the
when I said
only
20
one
go,
to
I
do
meant
so.
full.
So now the question
Whoa,
is, do
little bit
others
moving
see
here.
that and come to pit lane, or is everybody just on the
Whoa,
agenda?
so that's 4 wide, 4 wide, 4 wide.
Yikes.
Sorry.
No, no, no.
Here.
Causey gonna tuck
really
back in line
concerned
there.
about that. Really tight back there with Perry Bond, 76 and Paglia.
I'll tell you what. For just a brief moment, that strategy by Jeffrey Elliott didn't look so bad.
You see, Ulysses just, I don't know, he almost bumper grabbed off of Javier, but he pushed right back up to the high side real quickly.
This hard racing is exactly what Jeffrey Elliott needs to see, because if a caution comes out and he's still on the lead lap, he cycles to the front.
Exactly. But getting back to what you're saying, hypothetically, if we can make it.
Air quotes.
Yeah, big air quotes here. I would, if we go all green, it's going to be a can. If you pitted that first time and you did not clutch and save, or you weren't even thinking about saving, you're just goofing around, you'll be can and a half for you, regardless at this point in time. But I honestly think 99 to 98% of these guys could easily make a can. That's just my opinion. Okay, that's just how I see things based on knowing what I can do and what I've done. So, but not everyone races like me though. So.
Now, the bad news for Jeffrey Elliott, he was the only one who came to pit road. The caution didn't come out quickly enough, and he is right now 1 lap down. So I don't even think if we end up having the cycle of pit stops here that he would be able to gain enough track position to be up in the conversation. He's going to need a yellow to get back on the lead lap via the lucky dog.
I'm so surprised you didn't catch what I said earlier, though.
Oh, did I miss something?
Yes, you did.
Oh, what'd I miss?
Well, I said there's right now in this position at this point, there's 28 machine, there's 76, there's on the high side 63, then there's a big gap to the 711 from, 760 to the 711 machine there.
Oh. Okay. Yep, that one went right over my head.
Yeah, and it would go right over his too. Whoa. A little friendly banter there.
Yep. Oh, we got a warp in the back, and oh, gracious, the 76 just went up in the air. Keith Bynum was in that one. Pretty sure the caution's out.
Yes, it is out. But at this point in time, Jeffrey Elliott, can you make it? Jeffrey Elliott, as long as Jeffrey doesn't have any moments here coming around. Yeah, thankfully, like you said, there's no damage.
Yeah,
so.
He'll get the lucky dog.
Yeah, do they do 1 or 2?
Well, we've only had the need for 1 so far tonight, so I'm not certain. Okay, I think we know who was the start of the warp wreck there, Keith Bynum. Now, I will say, Bynum has storms, some pretty bad ones down in Georgia right now, and I think that might be what's playing havoc with his internet. And
He
that's
did
what
warn us.
he did, and that's what popped the
Yep,
76
he
up
just
into the air.
disappeared. He came back. He disappeared. He's coming back. He's blinking in and out.
Unfortunately, it's no damage. Otherwise, this would be an absolutely horrible night for Jason Tintry, who I believe is 3 for 4 in being involved in the cautions here tonight. And here's a look at it. Watch the 63. Talk about heart-stopping moment. 63 warps side to side. All of a sudden, disappears. Where'd he go? He's inside of my race car. Up and over.
By the way, fuel strategy is no longer a factor.
I was wondering about that. So now it's you come down pit road, you get your fuel, and you got what you got.
You automatically think it's going to be 20 laps for a full tank, 19 to 20, based on leading and whatnot. So 18, even if you are really bad on fuel completely, and look at where you're like 16, 17 laps here. So you should be good now.
Finally,
Seth,
lead that lap.
Seth, while we're under caution here, why don't you tell us what's on tap for FRN broadcasting coming up?
Yeah, so Thursday night, we're going to have the first race of the Final Four of the playoffs. That was an interesting battle off of pit road there. It's going to be at the Talladega Superspeedway for the first race of the 2-race final round. I believe the Final Four have been confirmed, and they will begin their road starting at Talladega Superspeedway again Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we're going to be back here with Primetime Racing League in September the 13th. We're going to be, I believe it's the Friday Night Superspeedway Truck Series. We'll bring you coverage of one of their races, so looking forward to that.
Keith is still working.
Yeah, I did notice that. I think he's probably going to be coming to pit road this time by. And Nate Balser, by virtue of having the pole position in the number 1 pit stall, just barely edged out Ulysses Sandoval for what will more than likely cycle around to be the race lead. We also have confirmed our next Talladega Nights Mega Team event. It's going to be on Saturday, August 17th. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe a couple of new tracks are going to be added into those heat race schedules as well.
And now that you say August 17th Saturday, I will point this out right now. I may or may not be available for that because I may or may not be going to Alligator Adventure.
And I may or may not be 1 year older.
No one cares about how old you are. You're too old to even count.
Gonna be the triple threes.
Stephosaurus.
From which period? The Scholastic period? No, that doesn't work. I tried.
You tried.
An attempt was made and failed. I don't know why when I said that I thought of Scholastic books.
Yeah. Magic School Bus, maybe?
Mm-hmm. It's immediately where my mind went.
But go back in time with that one episode where they went to the dinosaur period.
You know, to be honest with you, I watched a lot of them, but I don't really remember, like, what happened in the episodes. Like, I remember where they were inside the human body.
You don't remember?
I remember when they were with the dinosaurs.
You don't remember the episodes in general? Like, really?
Not really. Wow. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, I believe my local library had the Dinosaur Magic School Bus game on their computers.
Mm-hmm.
But
we had the Solar System one.
No, I don't think they had the Solar. They had another one too, and I can't remember which one it was.
I do want to point out you don't remember Ralphie and Keisha, the weather part, and their thing Shika Cup Boom.
Nope.
Wow, you have
I do
really
remember there was
touch
one
your old
where
stuff.
I don't remember if they were supposed to be a plane or if they were supposed to be a bird, and they were, the school bus, they had to do like a pedal card type thing, and I just remember that one of them was like, "Keep pedaling, guys, we're pedaling." And then there was one where they turned into clouds.
Yeah, that was. Are you talking about the one where they went through what Arnold enjoyed with the what was it? It's oh my gosh, I
It was
know
the
which
one
one
where
this one is.
Liz the iguana got her tail stuck in the faucet, and the classroom got flooded.
Yeah, and they went to go visit the shoot. Oh my gosh, they went to go visit the I forgot what they call it now. They had a whole bunch of hydraulic dams and stuff, and they went down there in the evaporation process.
Yeah,
Remember?
yep, that was it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the episode was called now.
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh, we are old. Believe
We
it or
are
not, we are old.
we're old that we remember it, but don't remember it.
We're so old. Pepper's Farm has to have us labeled as.
That's right.
Yeah.
At least Pepper's Farm remembers it. Saw Jeffrey Elliott go around get his lap back. Looks like Billy Elliser never returned back into the server. He's currently
Yeah, that's
scored.
unfortunate. But now that we got them all on the lead lap now, including Frank Devins,
Yep.
this is going to be a whole new ball game. You've got about a little bit more than 10 laps to go, less than 15. So, Seth, actually, wait, hold on. Strike that. More than 15. Yeah? No? Yeah. About 16, 17 when we go back to green?
13 when we go back to green.
Because I'm still looking at, okay, the caution lights just went off.
We're on the back straightaway.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's what I was saying. The caution lights went off, so we are going back to green this lap then.
Yep. It will be interesting to note when potentially the point of no return is going to be, because I know you mentioned the fact we have everybody on the lead lap, but with Billy Elliser not officially retired out of the race, at least that's what my scoring is showing me, we might have a permanent lap car, so that might mean there's going to be an extra lap of pacing on every caution from this point on.
Well, Jeffrey Elliott just cut to the end of this pace line, so if we have Billy on, like how you're saying, would that be 3 laps to the end, or would it be 4 laps?
I think it would put it at 4 laps. I think we'd still have that extra lap, so I think we'd be looking like around completion of lap 62 would be our point of no return.
And that's a big factor. That's what we always talk about in league racing. Where are you racing to? Are you racing to the end, or are you racing to make it to that point right there to get the lead?
All about timing. Nate Balser and Ulysses Sandoval get us back under the green. Interesting point of note there. We saw in the first couple of restarts the shoving of the second car in line. Neither lane gave a shove that time. Neither Javier Negron nor Donnie Garrett.
So it'll be interesting to see which line they decide they want to go with, because at the end of this race, they're willing to make more risks and open up more options. And I'm just wondering, too, Denny Carroll back here making that third lane immediately. I kind of figured that he would probably be the one to step out, and he has stepped out. Paglia kind of a little bit high up there. The specific gap is up in front of Denny Carroll, and John Godfrey's in front of the gap.
Highest we've seen that Mopar number 24 Dodge of Graham McDonald, third place right now.
I can't help it. I'm going to cause myself to get wrecked by him later.
Tempting fate.
And obviously, here comes the 63 up the middle of Keith Bynum. Now he's going to go to the bottom behind the Bama Buggies machine. Jeffrey Elliott's right there in Tosa. These guys got a little bit of work to make if they want to get to that top 5 position.
Looks like, fortunately, Bynum's connection problems have settled out a bit. Hopefully that was the only time we'll see that problem for him here tonight, as he's been up there inside of the top 5, 6, 7 the entire evening. I think the highest he got up to was around the 4th position. As Nate Balsa trying to go coast to coast, clocked the pole position with a 52.452, had that number 1 pit stall. That was the deciding factor in him winning the battle off of pit road under this final pit stop of the night. And now trying to see if he can keep that rear bumper wide enough for everybody to stay behind him in these final 10-plus laps.
Now we got one car way up there in the third line, but I don't know if that's going to do much of anything as Denny Carroll goes up there. Randy Wallace, who I'm on right now, they seem to want to go. Then they psych them out and say, nope, we're not going with that. And that's the price you got to pay. I mean, you got 10 laps. You want to make a move now to get to that point to be there, but who are you going to get to go with you? And is it in vain or not?
How about Buckshot leading that middle line with help from Robert Breedlove? He'll get alongside of Nate Balser for the top position. Kelly Causey trying to lead his first lap of the night. And that third line is forming as well. John Godfrey has picked up Denny Carroll and Randy Waugh. We might be getting ready to see that 3 wide all the way through the field that we were kind of expecting to see at the initial drop of the green flag.
I'm expecting the 96 to come up and block in a minute. That's just how I'm saying. If the 96 comes up there and block, we'll see how well they're able to pick the 96 up, and 96 is able to pull this whole group. Yep, there we go.
There it is.
Called it.
Let's see if it keeps the momentum going or stalls them out.
They got a nice accordion bump right there going. Now, I don't know if that's going to help, but we see Ulysses pulling right alongside, battling for the top spot now.
Do you think maybe they got a little bit more comfortable? They did a little bit of experimentation in the early going. Now bump has turned to push and push has turned to shove, and that's why we're seeing these lines suddenly start moving? You got to be willing to shove your line in order for it to get going forward?
Can I mention something real quick? That 8 machine, look at where Greg is right now. He's come back from a lot of issues earlier on.
Yes, he has.
In this pack, so good job for that 8 machine. I just wanted to point him out for a minute on that.
Didn't even roll off the grid. Fell a lap down, got the free pass. Frank Divin, same deal for him.
3 wide, several rows back. Now,
1,
this is
2,
what we
3,
kind of
4,
expect
6
here.
6 rows deep.
Oh boy, don't make a mistake.
And Keith Bynum back there making 3 lanes of his own. he's not having a good moment with his connection right now, but fortunately he's at the back of this group. Who's going to lead this lap? Whoa, Eric Lovell down in the apron there through the tri-oval. It will be Nate Balser leading that lap, but Causey's still there, Sandoval's still there, middle line's pinching the inside, outside's pinch in the middle.
Okay, yeah, what I'm worried about right now is that bottom. We just saw a moment ago back here off turn 1 where they hit the apron and bounced up a little bit after getting kind of pinched with the 1622 just slightly, so they got to hold. Look at how they're really close with the inside and that middle line, Seth. This high side is right there on that hash mark line. And a little bit below that, they've got to give room if they're going to make it the last few laps without caution.
Yeah, theoretically, the middle line and the third line are kind of sharing in between those center hash marks.
And you notice it's killing their momentum, too.
Helping the 79 of Balser clear, Donnie Garrett second, Graham McDonald third. 3 wide all the way through the field. You just get the sense one mistake is going to have catastrophic results, and we're getting closer to that point of no return as well.
Yeah.
So you talked about timing and positioning when we get to that point of the race. These drivers up here in the top 4, yeah, they're running inside the top 5 right now, but if something happens behind them, they got to have a contingency plan in place to be able to make a move.
I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do here. There goes Godfrey abandoning the top side to one to the middle lane. The high side only has four drivers now, and Keith Bynum and the 76 are kind of twitchy, warpy back there.
Yeah,
a little bit
side to side for both of them.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to probably sell it back out the side-by-side for another couple laps where that third lane tries it again, I'm sure.
Kelly Causey not giving up on the second lane with Breedlove.
They're going to go back to side-by-side, 2x2, all the way back.
Wow. Nice 1 and 2 for Causey in that high line. He just picked up 2 spots there, getting around both Brian Lovell and Greg Lovell, now alongside of Graham McDonald for second.
I want to point out what you and I were talking about. I was looking back here with Perry Bond. Perry Bond was 3 wide with Jeffrey Elliott and someone else on the inside. I couldn't tell who. Barely saw the front of the car. And Perry Bond was right there about to be passed, and then he got to run off the high side. So that high side, if you're by yourself in a 3 wide or a double wide position, that will work.
Oh,
there
car in the grass. That's Greg Lovell, and he's coming
back up.
Back up.
Caution is out, and they just took it.
Yellow flag is out. They just crossed the line to complete lap 61.
Start on 62. Is this race over, Seth?
That's the big question. It's either going to be race over or 1-lap shootout, and I'm honestly not certain which side of the spectrum we're on.
I am not sure either. That's why I asked you, because we're right there at it.
I think because it was completion of 61, I think we get a one-lap shootout. I'm not 100% certain, but I think we do have a chance of going back green. If it had been one lap later, race would have been over at that point, I think.
Well, if Billy Ulster wasn't here, we could definitely say we're going to one lap
For
shootout.
sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And the only reason
But
that we're having that with the Billy Ellison thing is because since he did not manually disconnect from the server and did not retire from the race, the sim has it read that he is still in the server, still scored, and one lap down. So it will add that extra lap of pacing as a result.
actually, no, it's more than one lap down.
Well, true, but off the lead lap. Okay.
Well,
26
right
laps down
now,
right now is what he's got him at.
at this moment in time, Nate Balzer is scored as our current leader. I highly doubt he's going to come down the pit road.
No, I don't think
So,
anybody's coming to
you
pit
wanna
road.
you wanna throw it back and see what happened on the trial with Greg?
This is off of 4. See if there's maybe a stack up here as... Oh, looks like maybe a little bit of a chain bump. I think Eric Lovell might have gotten to the back of Brian Lovell, who then got into the back of Greg Lovell and spun the 8 car around. So triple Lovells, and the Corona Premier Ford Dark Horse Mustang is the one that spins around. And really, with a spin through the tri-oval like that, coming back up the racing surface, very lucky that it was just a single car spin, because a couple of guys there at the very tail end of the pack could have gotten swept up in that. Greg might be the only one that comes to pit road, and I think maybe just for tires because of that spin. But watch this again as Mike Mangialardi gets the wall to make sure he's as high up as possible to not get collected into the wreck. And Greg Lovell, fortunately with it being a no damage race, he will have another shot at it. But the tough break for him is he was running in the 4th position. He's going to restart in 21st, and if we do indeed get that one lap shootout, very unlikely you're going to be able to make your way from outside of the top 20 up to the race lead in only the 2.66 miles that these drivers will possibly be allotted.
I'm hearing that they aren't really sure, but they think hypothetically they think the race is going to be the way it is because of the lap down machine still being labeled, but they don't know for a fact that from what I'm hearing on my whisper list.
Jeffrey Elliott on pit road in the 16. I believe this is unscheduled. This looks like a prolonged stop for him. I mean, let's say we do get back green with a one-lap shootout. You have to think Nate Balser's in the catbird seat, right? Because it takes about maybe a lap and a half for drivers to get up to full song and start generating runs. As long as he's able to get a good restart and keep it pinned down to that yellow line, force them around the long way through 3 and 4.
Well, remember, I don't know how well these guys be on the restart on that middle line. I mean, we've always talked about that middle line stuff. That middle line's where you want to go. The middle line, you get it clear. The question is, are you going to get a good restart? That's the only question.
If you get clear off of turn 2, do you stay to the bottom, or do you try and go up to that middle line to stop any momentum they could get off of turn 2?
That's exactly what I was going to mention, because usually when we get a start, you know what I'm getting at, when we get a restart or whatever, if it comes to history proven here, Nate Balzer would pull Donnie Garrett past Kelly. And then they would move up to the middle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Based on our history of what we remember in other Talladega type style races, we know that bottom will get a good run, jump up. It all depends on that middle line if they get a good restart or not. Because if they get a good restart and Nate pulls up and is able to actually clear, because that generation that run on the bottom, then they're going to battle in that middle line and go up to the top and make a third lane, and that bottom's going to get one heck of a run going into 3 and 4.
If we do go back green, there's definitely going to be a third line, because it's the only way anybody maybe out past the first 3 rows or so are going to get themselves up to the front. So that will be interesting to see if that generates. Again, we don't know if we're going to be going back green. We're waiting on the pace car. If the lights go on the pace car this time by, then we know we're getting a one-lap shootout. If they don't go out, then this race is going to end under yellow, and Nate Balser will be the race winner. But
And then
One thing
all of
we
a sudden he gets black flagged.
Well, one thing we do know for certain is if we do get to go back green, it won't matter if a caution comes out or not. One lap dash, we're racing back to the checkered flag no matter what.
Absolutely, and we will always say this. We will always stay, if we have a caution on the last lap, we will stay with the leaders until after the start finish line. Then we may go back and look at what brought up the incident back behind them, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, moment of truth as the pace car is going to make his way at a painstaking 70 miles per hour through the tri-oval.
In that moment, you remember SpongeBob and Patrick. You're looking at the pace car. We.
Let's see if Brett's going to be kind. Is he going to let us go back green? Nate Balser would be fine taking this race under yellow.
Brett, what I think just like Mark Martin. Last lap
Brett.
right here.
Flick the switch. Flick it for the fans. Lights out!
Did he?
Lights
Did
out!
he?
We're
Did he?
going to go green.
Yeah, he thinks it's like Mark Martin. The race is over.
he's gonna come down pit road on the last lap. Brett's gonna pull a mark. All right, so here's how they line up: Nate Balser and Kelly Causey front row, Donnie Garrett, Robert Breedlove row 2, Graham McDonald and Javier Negron in row 3, John Godfrey, who started shotgun on the field here tonight, up in the 7th spot alongside of Greg Palmer, and then it'll be Brian Lovell and Ulysses Sandoval, the top 10. The rest of the drivers, they need the top 10 to wreck probably to have a shot at this win, and with what we saw with that 3 wide several rows deep, that might not be outside the realm of possibility.
I have a random question. Do you have the ability to bring up the live feed of comments right now on the thing?
On the stream?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have any comments regarding this right now, the last few laps here?
Not the last few laps.
Okay, so no one's like banking on what's going to happen the next lap and a half here.
We did have Bobby Carroll when we had the 3 wide several rows deep say the big one is coming.
Well, I guess that was a little bit accurate, don't you?
If Greg Lovell's spinning was the big one, that's all we had.
Well, remember we had a flip early.
That is true. We did have a flip. So Carson Gum will be very happy.
Okay. I actually have to remember to tell you something after this race.
Okay. Also, folks, be sure to stay tuned here after this race is concluded. We'll be in our FRM post-race wind-down and talk to our podium finishers. Who will they be? Well, your guess is as good as ours. We got 2.66 miles to decide it as Chevrolets share the front row for the final restart of the night here. The first christening of the Primetime SuperSpeedway. Balser versus Causey, then Garrett versus Breedlove. Chevy bow ties sweeping the first 2 rows. Flagman ready to wave the green flag and the white flag here tonight. Here we go.
I'm going to talk about aggression. That's what this is going to be right here, Seth. Look at the third lane. Already got one car way out there.
Greg Palmer in the 22, but nobody going up there with him. No takers in the third line.
Is he clear yet up there?
Not quite. Now maybe he might be off of turn 2. Does he stay to the bottom or go up to the middle?
Look at that. He's trying to.
He's going to shade them both.
Too much of a run coming.
Kelly Causey
now
with
they're
a
going to
big
make
push.
that third lane. That's all it's going to take right there. To Javier up there at the top.
Javier Negron, Ulysses Sandoval trying to make something
Brando.
happen. They save it. No, there's going to be a car around, but we're still racing back.
Caution's out.
Nate Balser. Oh, Causey with a run. Causey with a big push. It's going to be these 2 to the line. Balser, Causey.
There's a little bit of an issue back here, but we're going to go.
Oh, no, finish. I think it's Balser by a splitter. Balser barely 6/1000.
Wow.
Man.
How petty. That's incredible.
How about that? The 2 that took the green to start this one-lap shootout come almost dead even side by side to the checkers, and Balser was able to just barely edge out Kelly Causey to pick up the first win at the brand new Primetime SuperSpeedway.
Well, what I noticed is what's happened in the past regarding from my perspective is if they move or there's an incident, it just kills a little bit of a momentum on whatever line they were on, right? So if you notice back in the trioval, there was a little bit of bump and a little bit of a stack movement when they were coming to the checkered, and I don't know who it was. I was too busy up the front with you looking at that, and I wondered if that was actually going to give Kelly Causey the win right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it was the 24 of Graham McDonald on the inside. I was wondering the same thing. But I think it was Donnie Garrett. He just was shoving the back of Nate Balser, and that was enough for that inside line to get the advantage barely. As Nate Balser trying to get those rear tires to spin. There we go. And from coast to coast, how about that? Started on the pole, had that perfect pit stop when he needed it the most, that final pit stop of the night, got the track position back with the #1 stall, and was able to hold them off for that final lap shootout. Nate Balser, the winner here tonight in the Primetime 75.
The first incident I saw was the 44 just barely. I think it was more like a little bit of a bump grab, like a little recording effect right there on the inside. And Graham goes up, Brian backs off just a little bit so he doesn't turn him, and they just kind of stacked up for just a moment, and that's what caused that big incident behind Seth. Now, when they were getting up into the trial, like we were talking about, like you said, Graham got a huge shot from behind. They were trying to go, 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 and that little shot from the 76 kind of messed up the line of the 24. There's a gap between him and Donnie, but somehow, some way, they had enough momentum between Donnie and Nate for Nate to grab it.
There's the Graham McDonald incident right there. Hangs onto it, somehow able to keep it pointed straight, crosses the line, I believe somewhere around the 8th position. Randy Waugh, I believe, was the car that went around over in 3 and 4 after the stack up there on the inside line, and
They
it was
just Billy Ellis are following Disco.
it's a disconnected fine when they cross the line. But we'll take a look at the still shot here of them crossing the start finish line 6/1000ths of a second.
I'd say
No
this is a keeper track.
manufacturer advantage because it was a Chevy versus a Chevy.
Don't you agree this is a keeper now?
Oh, for sure. Definitely, you could definitely see the comfort level of the drivers continue
Oh
to
yeah.
amp up as we got closer towards the end of this race. Like
Yeah,
I said,
they
bump
raced
became
enough.
push, became shove as they got closer to that checkered flag. And there it is, folks. That was the difference right there, the 6/1000ths of a second. And look behind the 77 of Donnie Garrett. There's nobody there. That's why we were surprised that it was actually the inside line got the advantage because you see the 00, the 931, the 711. They're all lined up together. Usually that gives a little bit more draft. Maybe the saving grace was just the fact that there was only a few hundred feet they had to make through the tri-oval. If that had happened over out of turn 4, more than likely it then would have been the middle line advantage.
Absolutely, and you mentioned it a moment ago about how the comfort level. They raced really clean and careful. We didn't see a lot of aggression. So they like you mentioned, they were just testing it out, feeling it out. And at the very end, they knew what they could do. They knew where they could go and whatnot, and they went all out for it. And honestly, that was a really good race. Not just a good race, but that was a really heck of a finish. That.
Well, as we head to our FRM post-race wind-down, we'll be talking with our podium finishers, but I believe that we've got the guy that put this event together here tonight, had the brainstorm of Primetime SuperSpeedway. I think we've got a hold of Keith Bynum. Keith, you there?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
Well, man, I'll tell you what a debut race for this track here tonight. We know super speedways are known for photo finishes. Can't get much closer than that one here this evening. Especially go back to that portion where we were 3 wide, 6 rows deep. I mean, definitely looks like a lot of opportunity, a lot of options for the drivers here. Got to be pleased with what you saw here this evening in this track's debut.
Was very, very pleased. Everybody run a good race. Warp issues happened a couple of times. Happened with me at the end of the race, but very happy that I had a good show up, good turnout, and Nate Balser run a really good race. Like you said, them guys up front, the first 2 or 3, Donnie Garrett and all of them, they lined up and did what they had to do.
So Justin and I were talking about this at the beginning of the race. We're kind of wondering why we didn't see the third line really forming. You guys seem pretty orderly, double wide in the first 2 rows. Then we started getting closer towards the end of the race and more experimentation up there to the third line. Obviously, we end up seeing it come into play more towards the 10, 15 laps to go. from the driver's perspective there and kind of getting a feel of the field, were you guys just kind of feeling out process of what this track was going to bring to the table, kind of setting up what was going to be available later on in the race at that point in time, or was it just a case of, let's get some laps under our belt and of course maybe get some green flag pit stops, which you guys were right in the middle of doing before that first yellow flew?
Actually, what really goes on right there is we try to pull out and form third lines, and when you don't get another two or three to follow out behind you, you just have to give it up and just drop back down in that, in the two line formation, stick in it until you get another good run. But that's the biggest thing is getting two or three guys, I guess, that like to feel comfortable racing together to pull out there together. I tried pulling out two or three times and couldn't get no taker, so I'd have to just pull back down into line and stay. But yeah, till the end of the race, everybody tried to play it safe to um, ask them all to put on a good show for everybody. We had a few too many cautions, in my opinion, but still, um, they're going to happen. Thank you for hosting this race. I'm going to turn you over to the guys. And Primetime Racing is racing 5 nights a week, Friday night through Tuesday night. And appreciate y'all hosting for us. And we'll definitely be letting y'all broadcast some more for us. Thank you so much. And I'm going to bring you want the third place in first?
Yep,
And
we'll do third to first.
I'll just let y'all got the power. I'll let y'all handle it. And thank you so much.
No problem, Keith. Appreciate you. Let's have the opportunity to call this race tonight. Be able to see this track debut, what it brought to the table. Did not disappoint in the finish, that is for certain. And again, appreciate you and Primetime Racing League for giving us this opportunity.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you, buddy.
All right,
User
let's see
left
if
your
we
channel.
can dial up some of the other drivers that were in the middle of that battle to the line. Big difference maker into the outcome of this finish was the guy that pushed the race leader to that 6/1000th of a second victory. Let's see if we can dial up the Nature Boy, Donnie Garrett.
User was moved
Hey,
to your
Donnie, Justin
channel.
Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
I'll tell you what. Jess and I, we were kind of wondering when the 24 had that moment through the tri-oval if you and the 79 were going to have enough momentum to get back to that start-finish line ahead of what was eventually second and fourth place. Did you have some doubts in your mind as well, or was it just, I'm going to shove the heck out of this guy and hopefully it works?
Kind of both. I was shoving him just as hard as I could shove him. I'm surprised I didn't wreck him, but um, I was just giving him everything I had. And then, like I said, we lost our momentum from behind, and that killed us. And but again, it was extremely close, but we nicked it out there at the end and got a third place. I'll take that.
Obviously a racetrack that's debuting here tonight. A lot of question marks on how lines were going to move, what kind of momentum could be had in going to that second and third lane. We saw you in that purple number 77 in all three lanes here tonight. What were some of the takeaways you were able to garner during the course of this race that eventually set you up to be up there at the front in the conversation for this win?
Third lane don't work. It seems like when we got up there, I got up there with Keith and him early, and I mean we start off like gangbusters, and then it just stalls. But what it also does is it pulls the second line back. So that was my thinking. When I was third there on that restart, I'm like, okay, they're gonna immediately jump out to third. That's gonna suck back the second line a little bit. If I could just get in front of Kelly, um, I think I'd have something because I think that would have pulled Nate back because he wouldn't have had nobody behind him and might have been able to nip him at the line. So that was my thoughts. But then when it just didn't happen, I figured I'd just sit there behind Nate and just go and push him to the win there and try to have something to do with it. And that's what happened. And like I said, great race. I thank Keith and all these guys over here for putting on a great race tonight, a great series, and come over and help young bunch of guys in sight to try to do something.
Hey, Donnie, good run tonight. Honestly, I was kind of watching that 77 Astroglide machine at one point when I said to Seth, I said, yeah, they're going to go pretty wide. And I mentioned it, that 77, I know better. I know exactly what that 77 is going to do. It's going to go from that middle line to that bottom line in a heartbeat.
Oh,
I
yeah.
already knew what you were going to do. But how do you approach running debuting track, do you want to, like Seth and I were discussing, do you want to go out there and win and make a name for yourself, saying that you won that first one, etc., or is it a chance for you just to go out there and feel a new track to use it in the future, or like how do you approach these new tracks like that?
Well, anytime you're on track, you want to win. I mean, that's why we're all here. But you just you try to early. It's 66 laps, so you got a lot of time. And I just tried all the lines. I'm like, I started 14th. I was kind of in the middle of the pack, and I wanted to go through. I wanted to go up on that third lane early. I wanted to see what that momentum has. Um, it seemed like when we went up there, like I said, it took off, but then it just, cars in that second lane just pulled back. But at the same time, I'm watching that middle line. That middle line is just getting sucked back the minute we went up there. So, um, to me, you got to have closer drafting and more bumping, which leads to accidents, of course. But you had to have the right guys in those lines, and if you didn't, you have one guy that just wasn't bumping, then those lines wasn't going anywhere. And I mean, it's that bottom line was definitely the preferred line all night. And when we had that caution, I thought I was second, and I thought, man, I'm screwed. And but I wanted to be third. That's where I wanted to be, and ended up, on that restart there with that one lap to go third, and and all. But yeah, that's they need to maybe work on that just a little bit. But because like I said, that second and third line was just not good.
And I have one more question, Donnie, because I noticed a lot of drivers are dealing with it like I always deal with it off of turn two. Um, how bad was the pushing up in the corners? Because I saw a lot of drivers not exactly wanting to go on that line. They were kind of running like a little bit above that line, and if they did get on that line, they were always at the apron. And I mean, like, how bad was it?
So I think I hit that one. I think one time I think I slid up a little bit, but I was trying to I'd have to almost be on the track to show you, but I try to pinch that line and maybe get those tires just down there on that line or a little bit below them, and that seems to help the car turn. It don't look good, but it but it helps the car turn, and it doesn't throw you like a lot of tracks. You get down on that apron, it's going to throw you up coming off the corner. But here, it seemed like if you just kind of chop that apron a little bit, it would just pull you right up to them. And like I say, so I took advantage of that. Learned a lot. You're learning 20 things a lap here, and on these newer tracks. And just it's just the guys that can figure it out is the ones that get to the front.
Well, speaking of being thrown up, we're very glad it was a no damage race because we saw you visit maybe all three levels of the catchments there on the back straightaway, but able to continue on and bring it home in the third position. Donnie, great run for you here tonight, finishing on the podium. We're going to give you the opportunity here for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Absolutely. Well, I got to thank Keith and him and Frank and all for putting on this race tonight and inviting us over. I definitely appreciate being here, and got to thank you guys up there in the booth, and well, you guys and girls up there in the booth. I got to thank Old Astro Glide for my sponsor. I tell you what, we slipped through the field tonight, and Old Astro Glide almost got back in victory lane. Got to think about that for another series. I have to bring back the Old Astro Glide car, but um, yeah, just a great night, fun night. I love these races like this for fun and all. But yeah, great night. Appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll see you again up here soon.
Donnie Garrett, he started middle of the pack 14th, brings it home P3 here tonight in the debuting race at Primetime SuperSpeedway. Congratulations on that great run there, Donnie.
Woo!
Garrett in third position. Let's see if we can
User
dial up the
was
driver
moved
that
out
brought
of
it
your
home
channel.
in second place. Let's see if we can get a hold of
User was
Kelly
moved to
Causey.
your
Kelly, it's
channel.
Justin Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. You were awfully committed to that middle line there in the closing stages, coming up there to that one lap shootout as well. You had Breedlove all over your back bumper. What little more did you need? Because it kind of seemed like everything was going into your advantage coming to the stripe. Obviously, no manufacturer advantage. You're both Chevrolets. You both got that little jut out there on the nose. So, did you just need maybe another foot of racetrack to be able to get them? What?
I don't know. I might have made a mistake by not pinching him a little more than I did, but to lose to Nate, he's a great driver and a good friend. So I was happy that he pulled it off, But I really was worried when we got the one to go, because sitting in that spot, a lot of times there's usually going to be people jump out to go to the third line, and usually the bottom line is going to get the momentum. But Breedlove was all over me. I wasn't going to hang him out. I mean, he stayed committed to me. When it was some unbelievable racing there when it was 3 wide and Ulysses was pinching the mess out of us, but we were holding it. And I was going to stay committed to him. He stayed committed to us. We fought off the third line, and it made it work.
You talk about the fact of, being in the middle of that 3 wide situation. I believe you passed the most cars here tonight, rolled off the grid from 20th, bring it home in the second position. So probably maybe one of the first drivers to do a lot of the experimentation and working your way up there to the front of the field. Justin and I, we were trying to do our own little experimentation during practice, try and figure out what this track was able to do. Couple of surprises of things that we thought might happen. It didn't necessarily happen. We were talking just moments ago with Donnie about his opinions of what lines are able to move and what's necessary to be able to have the multi-groove racing, especially like what we saw with that 3 wide several rows deep that you were leading that middle line in. What, in your opinion, there, especially when you started at the back of the pack, what was your opinion of the options available to be able to get to the front of the field?
Well, first of all, I want to say, John Goffrey did an unbelievable job with this track. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's really a lot of fun to race. So, I don't. The one thing that confused me during the course of the race is usually when you have two lines. I mean, if that bottom line's out in front, when you have a third line form and they come up there, that bottom line eventually is going to take off, and then when it takes off, usually that third line will dissipate a little bit, and the second line will go. And I was in the front of that, I guess, about 20 laps to go, and we just never could get up there. I don't know why. We looked like Randy Wall was behind me. He was pushing me good. I don't really know why that didn't work. But when you a lot of it has to do, to be honest with you, if you got a group of guys that are staying close together with each other, really pushing each other and don't have a lot of space. Of course, if you're in that second, third line, sometimes you got to pinch a little bit to make it work, and you've got to have the guys behind you pinching with you, and that was what was happening there on that when we had 3 wide. But like I said, that one time that we had that second line, I thought it would go a lot more, and it just never would. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe they had it a little bit tighter on the bottom, but it's a fun track, and like I said, John Goffrey did an unbelievable job.
Oh, hi, Kelly. Great, great run for you. I thought you were actually going to get it when they kind of broke up at that one point in time. And Seth finally, Seth was honestly with me when we thought you were actually going to get it, but unfortunately it didn't work. But I mean, that was a really great run you had. And how do you just sit there and keep running that high side, even especially when it wasn't working and you just couldn't keep going, but yet you kept going back to it? Why did you keep going back to it when you know it really wasn't working?
I don't know why, but I'm not a bottom feeder on these tracks. I like to play that middle and that second. I mean, there's times you need to get down there, of course, but I just feel a lot more comfortable in the second and third line. So I'm one of the guys that's going to jump out there quick, and a lot of times I'll be behind somebody in the second line, and I'll be nosing my nose out because I really like to push somebody, to be honest with you, and like trying to give you a signal, hey, look, I want to go, let's go, let's go. But you know, I don't know. I just like it up there. It seems like it fits my style a little bit more, and can draft a little better.
Almost paid off for you here tonight. Second place in the conversation for sure. Photo finish here in the first race of the Primetime SuperSpeedway Series. Kelly, congratulations on the great run and the persistence there in that second lane in those final 5 or 6 laps of this one, the green flag laps, that is. We'll turn the microphone over to you now for some thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, I want to thank Breedlove for staying with me and pushing me like he did. I mean, if he wouldn't have stayed with me, I probably would have finished back in the back. And once again, good job by John on the track, and Prime Racing for putting it on, and big congratulations out to Nate. If anybody's going to win, I'd rather it be him if it couldn't be me. So excited for him, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all do a good job, and appreciate y'all coming out on a Monday night. So thank y'all.
I do want to add one thing, Kelly, while I got you here, because I really wanted to say it on Thursday. Um, the week before and last week. I do appreciate everything you were trying to do to help me. I do appreciate that, so thank you very much.
Oh, anytime. I was just trying to do what I could to help you. But anyway, good racer. I'll work with you a lot. All right, bud.
That's
Same here.
That's Kelly Causey, second place here tonight in the Primetime 75 at Primetime SuperSpeedway. Congratulations on the great run there, Kelly, and a great job of slicing your way up through the field.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Let's see if we can
User
go
was
down
moved out
to
of your
victory
channel.
lane. Dial up
But
the
I
driver.
don't want to go down the victory lane.
Well, we'll get our camera people down to victory lane. How about that? We'll stay up here in the comfort of the booth. He went coast to coast here tonight, pole to win. Let's see if we can dial up Nate Balser.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Nate,
your
it's Jason,
channel.
Jess and Seth. Wow,
I'm gonna kill you. I'm
it's
killing
Jess
you.
and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got a copy.
At least you didn't call me Michael Norman.
Got a copy, Justin. Seth, how you guys doing?
Oh man, hopefully I don't end up doing more Freudian slips here with these questions I got for you. First off, though,
Hi, it's Jeff. Jeff. That's what we're gonna call
Yeah.
so, usually I like to go back, see a turning point of the race of where it all seemed to go right for the driver that eventually wins the race. I think we got to go all the way back to before we even took the green. Fast number 79 car here tonight. You put it on the pole position. That garnered you the number 1 pit stall, which was important on that final money pit stop. You just barely edge out the 96 to be able to lead up until that final yellow, and then, of course, have that battle on the 1-lap shootout. How were you able to keep them all behind you? Because you had a lot of decisions you had to make on that final lap.
Yeah, it's tough having that first spot because some of those guys back in 5th and 7th are back there. They'll just blow right past you. And I just had to nail the pit stops. I dragged one of them a little bit, with the spotters going pull up, pull up. But the last pit stops were just they had to be perfect. I had to slide right into the stall and just take right off. And especially the last one with the 96 there, and that's actually what did it. I thought for sure he was going to edge it in front there, and just making sure he didn't get a black flag or getting any kind of trouble there. Just had to be patient, and those pit stops you just knew they had to be perfect, and most of them for that part they pretty much were.
Now, obviously, up here in the booth, we get the benefit of seeing everything that's happening up there at the front, seeing who's getting the runs, who's got the help and everything. You're in that side-by-side battle with the 00 coming through the tri-oval to the start-finish line. How much were you aware of what was happening out the rearview mirror in terms of help, in terms of lines that were moving, and what were you doing as your responsibility to try and make sure that you were able to edge out Causey when you guys got to the stripe?
Well, I gotta thank Donnie, and he was right there. If he would have pulled off or went up high, I'm not sure that I would have gotten it. I really got to thank that guy. He was just right on the money, right there. And when you're running with Kelly Causey, and the guy's a good friend of mine, you really just you sit up in your chair and you really got to watch both sides your mirror and see exactly where he's at because it doesn't matter where that guy is. The guy's good and he knows how to get around. And I'm just thinking, oh no, it's Kelly Causey because with that guy, anything could happen. I just watched the mirrors and made sure going into the turns were perfect. He didn't drag the tires or anything like that. And you really hope. I mean, going against Kelly Causey, you're going to get a race.
Hey, and Nate, oh, guess what? You finally got a win, and we actually get to interview you over here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
You've done podiums, but I think it's been a while since we've actually interviewed you for a win.
Yeah, it's been a while.
How does this win at a debuting track compare to winning an actual league race for points? Like, is it the same feeling, or do you just have a special place in your mind compared to an actual league race for points in this debuting track, even though it's a special event?
Well, to me, it's kind of like, when you get something that's brand new, debuted, it stands out a little bit more. And we're going to be racing here a lot more. And sure, in a points race, anything can happen. You're on the edge of your seat and you want to stay in the top 3, top 5. But something that's brand new, and here's a new track. This is a new event. It stands out a little bit more special because it's highlighted and it's remembered. Who won the first race here and who got the first pole here. And so it's kind of like a little extra cream layer there that makes it kind of nice.
Well, for sure. First winner here officially at the newly christened Primetime Super Speedway. As you mentioned as well, first pole sitter also going coast to coast here at a Super Speedway, which is not an easy thing to do. Nate, congratulations on the job. Well done. We'll let you get back to your celebrating in a moment, but for now, we're going to give you the opportunity for some Victory Lane thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
Thank you, Jerry and Kathy, my wife Angela, my daughters Madison, Katerina, and Alex. You guys are my greatest supporters. I appreciate everything that you guys do. And I thank all of you guys at FRN and Primetime Racing League. Thank you both in the booth. You guys always, or both of you, you always put on a great show, and I'm glad to be part of it. Thank you.
Well, great to see Nate Balser back in Victory Lane. He takes the checkered flag here tonight at the Primetime Super Speedway in the Primetime 75. Go and enjoy this win, Nate. Well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you both.
User was moved out of your
By the way, you
channel.
did get me back already because you asked one of the questions I was going to ask, so you got me back for the Jeff Freudian slip.
Good, good, good. You deserve it.
Sometimes you see the sentence in your head and you kind of think it ahead of time, and then the mouth is trying to catch up, and that's what happened.
So let me get this straight. We're Jeff Colton. I get it.
Yeah, apparently so. I don't know what happened there. I had my own little personal glitch. But yeah, we talked about it here starting out the evening. Obviously, at that point, we didn't know that it was a no damage race, which was great to see with everybody still being able to be in the conversation for this win. But a special event, no pressure of points on the line, no pressure of a championship hanging in the balance, just an opportunity to go out there. We could hear there with Nate how important it was to be the first to take a checkered flag at a brand new racetrack. And first half of this race, as we could clearly see, a lot of experimentation, figuring out what you could do, the do's and don'ts here of this racetrack. We end up almost getting that cycle of green flag pit stops as well. Obviously, they'll have plenty more opportunities to be able to see what pit road brings to the table in terms of strategy, but then the confidence started building. We saw the three wide, several rows deep from the front all the way to the back. Obviously, the one lap shootout, there was going to be all take and no give. Came down to a photo finish. I mean, this racetrack, yeah, it's a debuting racetrack. A lot of question marks coming in, but it had all the characteristics of what a super speedway usually brings to the table.
I completely agree. It always seems to happen like this. You get a really, really good brand new debuting track. You get a whole bunch of people who know what they're doing together and whatnot, and you put it all together. Broadcast, I don't know, we could probably do better. But anyway.
Stop having personal glitches on my end at least.
Yeah, something like that, right? Something like that. But everything came along perfectly. Not too much aggression, like we said earlier on in the race, but then all of a sudden that aggression popped up at the last second and the last moment. And honestly, that aggression that popped up at the last second, it made a huge difference at that start-finish line with what we saw. The excitement went overboard. Adrenaline pumped. We saw exactly what happened. Honestly, I don't think we could have asked for a better race. Obviously the cautions, but we're going to have a caution with a brand new track and testing new things. So, especially with no damage. So, it is what it is.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again to Nate Balser. He is your winner here tonight in the Primetime 75 at the debuting Primetime Super Speedway. After tonight, we won't be able to say that, as I'm certain this racetrack is going to be making its appearance on several Primetime Racing League series schedules during the course of the upcoming months. But thank you all for tuning to our coverage here tonight from FRN. If you're interested in racing at Primetime Racing League, they race on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Check out Primetime Racing League on Facebook. You can check out their group page. They'll get you set up for joining, and you can take part in their several different series taking place during the course of the week. Wild one here tonight. We appreciate everybody tuning into our coverage. Again, our next time you'll see us here will be Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we begin the final round of the playoffs for the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. But until then, Jess, appreciate you jump here in the booth for a wild one here tonight. Non-points event, but definitely exciting one at this debuting racetrack.
Absolutely. I mean, I kind of expect us to see this kind of pop up a little bit more often, and who knows, some people may talk to other people, and this may be allowed to be shared in the future with other events, and you never know who else is going to be racing. I mean, we got a lot of other names out there that are really good competitors. They might want to try this, and you never know what we're going to get at the end. And yeah, Thursday. Yeah, I'm just going to be racing just to race if I do race.
There you go. Well, thank you once again, everybody, for tuning to our coverage here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. For Jessica Shelton, got it right that time, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here on your Monday evening
Cole.
as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for